And I just want to piggyback on a question that was raised by Simone, who benefits? And I think that that question really takes me to the doctrine of creation. And as a Christian and as a pastor, I'm not the only person of faith that believes that there's something very sacred about creation. Jewish people believe that, Catholic people believe that, Muslims and Universalists and so many others of spirituality believe that creation does not belong to a small percentage of people who act as gods or goddesses on behalf of everyone else. And yet that seems to be what has been happening since the dawn of American democracy. And so as I listened attentively, I kept saying to myself that as much as things change, they continue to remain the same. And one of the reasons is because of the structure and those who control the narrative are the same. And whoever controls the narrative, whoever controls the microphone, whoever controls media, they're the ones that get their narrative out. And so I'm just grateful that there is another group of voices, another activism that is at work, and especially over the last 40, 50 years. And these alternative voices are making great progress in changing the narrative of how democracy will continue in America. And right now, I'm thankful that you're on good ground in terms of your push, because God was the first one that had a design on how things should look on earth. And therefore, there's a doctrine of creation that suggests that God looked at everything that he thought should be made. And he, of course, made everything based on it being family friendly. And so he did an environmental assessment. And after he did his environmental assessment, God actually graded himself. And his environmental assessment statement was simply, it is good. And so whatever we're doing lines up with the God who wants to see creation and every part of the earth be family friendly, individual friendly, and no person, no child, no adult, no one left behind when it comes to safety. People who benefit most are the people who should benefit the most, and that is the masses and not the elite. And every time I think about my tenure here in ERIE, I think about this third-class citizenship that ERIE has. And I think about how people who have first-class status look at cities with third-class status as though they're slaves or indentured servants. And I just want to remind everybody on this call that even though ERIE's a third-class city, ERIE has first-class intelligence, first-class brilliance, and just keep on the ballot the very things that the elite don't want on the ballot, and that is compassion, that is love for those whose voices are not as loud or as articulate as others, and keep on the ballot the sacredness of every human being, keep on the ballot the worthwhileness, the worthiness of every human being. And all the work that you all are doing, it really is the very work of God in so many different ways through so many different people. And so last but not least, I want to mention that as you go forward, and I'm going to show my partisanship here. I watched the Democratic convention and I watched the first night of the Republican convention, and it seems like I saw and heard and looked at two different cities or two different visions, two different ways forward. And I liked what I saw on the first side because of the diversity and because of the people who would benefit when it comes to the question who benefits. And on the other vision, I saw a family-oriented vision that protects the status quo and protects the way things have been as opposed to the way things should be. So keep up the good fight of faith. Visualize things based on your intelligence and the brilliance God has given you. And just remember that we don't always win the battle, but the winning is in the fighting. And we prove that with the McBride Bridge. Even though we lost the bridge, we didn't lose the battle because the battle goes on even to this day. And you're winning because you changed city council's notion of how to go forward. And therefore, that should be a source of great inspiration that what you're doing is working and that you're working in line with VISTA, which is something that I used when I was director of missions. VISTA means include every voice, make sure that what you do has integrity, make sure that the structure you do it in is sound, make sure there's transparency, and make sure it is accountable to the people. So God bless us with the continued inspiration that we need in order to go forward.